Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 248 on the RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekend edition. A little bit of a late start on it this week, but had lots going on. But you notice around me, there's a lot of stuff. It's time to start cleaning this stuff up. So if you want to see what pathway that takes today, all you need to do is stay tuned. Well, this is going to be the last video of May. It's getting towards the end of that time. And June is approaching. And even though I've been retired for 3 years now, uh, still June is when things end for me. So we've got, I believe, 3 more Wednesday afternoons, and my homeschool students are done for the summer. And things are kind of getting to the point where I need to change gears, make it so I have room to work on some cabinets in here, and start some summer and technically fall projects. But I have far too much stuff in here. So the cabinets are another big, bulky thing I need to start working on more seriously. And I just have no place to put everything. So today, I'm going to take my extra lathes, which is my 8 student teaching lathes, and I'm going to take them over to my storage garage. And I made a little trailer for them, and you've seen this thing before, but it was kind of a bit of comedy watching me haul those things back and forth. Now, what I didn't show you last day, and I will in this video, is when I was welding my lumber racks together, I also welded a triangulated hitch together so that I could screw that onto my deck on my trailer or my lathe transport and make it so it's a little safer to operate. I still wouldn't dare pull that with my garden tractor because that's way too light. It is amazing how heavy 8 of these little Delta biddies and jets actually weigh. So that's what the plan is today. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. That won't completely clean up what's going on in here, but it's a start. So anyway, we'll see you outside and we'll start throwing these things onto the trailer. Well, I didn't show you a lot of this off camera, but while I was welding my lumber stands together, I welded this triangulated hitch for this platform that I have some wheels mounted on. And I just kind of put it in place. I didn't actually measure anything when I welded this together. And it worked out that it was exactly a foot narrower than the plywood sheet, so that all worked out good. And we're just fastening it on with some leftover fasteners that I had. And this is an attempt to make it so that the trailer doesn't freewheel behind the truck. When I pull it with a rope, it's really quite dangerous. So this is an attempt to fix that. And yeah, some things work and some things don't, and you'll kind of see later. This wasn't the answer to my problems that I anticipated it would be. But the hitch looks good. It seemed the hitch part worked fine. But, and also, I don't know if you can't really see on film here, but it is smoking hot here today when I filmed this. 37 degrees, which it's Celsius, of course, but 40 Fahrenheit and 40 Celsius are the same, so we're pretty close. But anyway, here it is finished, and I dragged it over to the front of my shop with my garden tractor. I wouldn't dare pull this thing with the garden tractor loaded because the lathes are way heavier than I expected. So, and I knew this, but I still didn't realize it. I also filled each tire up to its maximum inflation because I knew this was going to be a challenge for it. But one of the things that I like to do before I put lathes away for the summer basically is to make sure that all the equipment is in each lathe that's supposed to be there, that the lathe is in reasonably good shape. So what I always do is I check the tool rest, and if it's nicked at all, I'll take it over to my edge sander, and I know I shouldn't be doing it that way, but I use about the top edge of the belt and I clean them off. It's really fast. I have done it with a draw file, but it takes longer, and this is faster. But I also give the main shaft a bit of a tug to make sure the bearings are tight. And I've run these lathes a lot this winter, so I kind of know what shape or what condition each lathe is in. So that's worked out really well. But just to make sure that everything's there, like all these lathes are numbered like 1 to 8. And this happens to be lathe number 1 that I'm working on. And I need to make sure that all the pieces that I have a 1 either put on with marker or with paint marker are in this little cubby here. Now, another thing that in hindsight I would have done differently is these cubbies are just a bit too small. Had I known, I would have made them a little bigger. I guess I just started storing things in there that I hadn't anticipated when I got all this going. Now, I had actually some previous experience with this because I've built very similar stands for the 4 Delta Midis that we had at the school. So I had some experience, but even those could have been bigger. But yeah, I tend to keep most things in these lathe cubbies that I anticipate that a student would be able to use. There's a number of things that I've built, and I've actually gone through these things with you on another video, but the turning form, a mallet, what else do I have here? The go, no-go gauge, the bowl depth gauge. All those things I think are really important when you're teaching youngsters to turn. And I'm finding even the Hub City classes that we do here, a number of those adult turners will reach into my little lathe cubby here and pull out one of the homemade tools to help them through a stage. So it doesn't really matter what skill level you are. Some of these little tools are just handy. You notice that I put a little pull saw in each, well, not in each box. There's a pull saw in lathe 1 and in lathe 4. And that way we have 2 pull saws out there that people can use and share. This happens to be an attempt that I was looking at to burn lines a bit safer. I haven't really developed that. Maybe someday if I have some time, excuse me, I'll put some more work into them and get them finished off. Normally, yeah, there's a brush that goes in, and that's actually really handy because that way when the kids are cleaning off their lathes, they know right away what goes in where, and or you know, they can sweep everything off and just put the brush back in the lathe. Now, turning tools. Sometimes if I can find them all, you'll notice I put a little piece of vinyl pipe onto the tip of that bowl gouge just to protect it. Now, I had all of these done at one time, but I've lost some of them, so that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, self-powered sander goes in each lathe, and some of these self-powered sanders that I built 10 years ago, the glue is letting go, so I need to re-glue some of them. This one was still okay. Otherwise, I try to re-glue them before they go in so that they're ready to go and fall. But yeah, as far as turning tools go, now some of my lathes have more tools in them than others, but that depended on the generosity of other people. For example, one of the club turners, Deb, donated a set of record tools for one of the lathes, which I really appreciated. I sure value those because they're good tools. A couple of the lathes I bought came with their own sets of tools. So usually the sets, they used to retail for about $100, and it was a complete set of everything, and half of the tools you didn't really need. Anyway, I have them, and they work. But the tools, the lathes that I put the tools in, first of all, they're all Benjamin's Best because those were the budget tools that I could find at the time. And I have a bowl gouge, a roughing gouge, a 3/8 spindle gouge, and what else? A parting tool. Those are the tools that I have stocked. So, and yeah, is it enough? Kind of barely. But I'm planning on putting hollowing tools in each lathe yet, and who knows where this will all end. But here I am. The bad thing, like I said, about this is the face shield needs to come apart to go in, and there it is, it's going in. The other thing that I have that I try to put in each one of these lathes is a circuit protector. Basically, it mimics a mag start. So when the power goes off, that the lathe doesn't start back up again when the power comes back on. And there are plug-ins that you can buy that you plug into the outlet, you plug your lathe into there, and it acts the same. Because I don't know of anybody that puts a mag start on a half-horse motor like these little lathes are. The other things that I just put in the lathe box there, those little pieces of, I think they're 2-inch pipe insulation. I use them for my smaller kids to put on their helmet band so that it takes up some space so the helmet isn't, the band or the headgear isn't hanging over their eyes when they're trying to turn. So you learn these things over the many years of turning with kids, and it's just important for me to have each lathe set up, ready to go, so that next September, all I need to do is grab them and throw them on some kind of cart. Yeah, I'm kind of giving away the ending here, but anyway, it's important that they're ready to go. Now here I am throwing all these things on my platform, my little cart there, and the one thing that I can see causing challenges in my future for turning like this is, yeah, you know, these lathes are kind of heavy, and you got to load them on the trailer by myself. And I need to come up with an easier way to do all this stuff. And right now, I don't think I have it yet. As far as, you know, it's hard to load these, but it doesn't take all that long. For me to load all this stuff only took 20 minutes. So I cut a lot of film out here because I had to drag them over to the door, and I'd take a little bit of a break every now and then. But for the most part, like I said, 20 minutes got this done. And the reason I know that is because I looked at the length of that video when I was done shooting it, and it was 19 minutes and change. So for ease of remembering, we'll just call it 20 minutes. But like I said, things that if they become too hard to do, they cease to be done. And I would like to keep working with kids and turning with the club and all that stuff for many years to come yet. So hopefully I can figure out an easier way to do this. But my shop just isn't big enough to have this stuff in there all the time. So yeah, here they go. The last one's on. I'm breathing a sigh of relief. And here I am. I'm hooked up to my trailer. I've got the orange tie-down strap on, so they're all laced together. This has some ramifications later on in the video that you'll get to see. And here I am, headed down the road. On pavement, this thing pulls quite nicely. Although I've got to tell you, these wheels that I'm using for the amount of weight on there, they are way under spec. So this has only worked as long as it has, I think, because it doesn't get used very often. If this thing had to go, say, a couple times or like 4 or 5 times a year, it would long be in the condition it is at the end of this video. Here I am, I'm giving things away. But yeah, it's nice to get those lathes out of the shop, and it's going to make working in my shop a lot easier. So normally, like if I was dishonest, you'd see my truck sitting here and I'd show a shot of the lathe sitting in my storage garage, and you'd think my day had been very, very successful. Well, look again. Not so successful. When I tried to back up again, I wanted to get a little closer on my gravel driveway. Those wheels don't spin, and the truck just nudged into it, and all of a sudden everything was broken. Like the amount of carnage here is impressive. Like the front of the plywood that just broke off. Well, okay, it's just OSB, that's not that big a deal. But the the wheels themselves, the one is broken right off the axle. This one in the foreground here, the mechanism to hold it onto the bearing is twisted and bent. Like they're in rough shape. Now the funny thing about this is, so I see this is happening, and I get out of my truck, and lathe number one is about to do the pirouette and land on the pavement. So I jump to grab it, and mass in motion stays in motion, and I grabbed onto that thing and it pulled me right over, and I did my best volleyball tuck and roll in the ditch, but luckily no lathes or people were hurt in the production of this video. Well, I wasn't going to show you how a smooth transition from how I set up my lathes before I put them in storage to putting them in storage and just setting them in my storage garage, nicely arranged on my trailer, ready to go. Well, things don't always work the way they're supposed to. And now that it's a day past, and when it happened, I was terrified, because if one of those lathes, a casting breaks, they're done. Yeah, we have a very good cast welder here. I've welded cast once, but I don't think I trust myself on a lathe like that. So I don't know if my contact across the river would still do it. All of us are getting older, so not sure if he's still even doing it. But uh, and then at first I thought, well, good thing I didn't film any of that, because that would be embarrassing to put in the video. But now in hindsight, that everything's okay and it's all done, I wished I would have filmed it, because that would have made a great thumbnail, me shooting over that lathe number one and doing a perfect volleyball tuck and roll on the edge of the pavement and in the ditch. And the only thing I have is a little bit of an abrasion on my knee. So hey, that's success. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's amazing how, when you put a camera in front of what you're doing, things that you never anticipated would go wrong go wrong. Now, that isn't quite the case in this scenario. I knew those wheels were really, really at the borderline with all that weight on them. And the wheels, like if you have something like that, you have to make the wheels, you have to connect them so they're turning together. Those caster style front wheels that I had on there, they didn't cut it. And I was lucky. I got backed in once. I should have just left it. But the whole thing broke in half finally. Well, the front broke right off and right in the middle of the street. So I the one lathe that tipped over and fell in the ditch, basically, of course, it spread its contents everywhere. Everything I put in all came out, because that was the same lathe that I used, that I showed you stocking it. So yeah, nothing. Even the ruler that I have trouble getting out, of course, that was all over the street. So I gathered everything up and I dragged that lathe in. And then it was about 20 minutes to coffee time. So I texted my friend Charles, and he drove his wonderful yard tractor with front end loader over here. And we lifted the front, the part that broke off, we lifted that up and we pushed it onto my yard and almost into the building. So yeah, then I took them off in the evening and stacked them. So now they're not on a platform anymore. So now I have a blank canvas to work with this. And by the way, thank you, Charles, for bailing me out again. But yeah, it's funny when you put a camera in front of things, anything that can go wrong probably will. But I need to come up with another way of doing that. And I think the answer is already there. I have a wonderful trailer, heavy duty steel trailer that I built a number of years ago. I haul all kinds of stuff, tools, gravel, topsoil, yard building stuff, like you name it, I haul it. It's a heavy duty tandem axle trailer. And it just sits in my yard 90% of the time doing nothing. So somehow I'm going to have to figure out a way to load and unload things easily and get that to work out, because to build a wooden trailer for this, no, you're going to need some serious wheels. You're going to need some some real robust materials and design. So I think my tandem trailer is going to be the answer in the end. But anyway, like I say, it would have made a great thumbnail with me doing my volleyball roll over the trail over the lathe, but I didn't get it, so we'll pick something else from the video and away we go. But anyway, I guess, like, who did I make this video for? I think that's another thing that needs to be talked about. Well, this beginning of May, the town has garage sales, and I had my stuff out there. In fact, I was shooting a video while I was garage sailing. Forget which one. But anyway, a former student of mine comes up to me and tells me that he is now teaching industrial arts in the school division I worked in. And I think, if I remember correctly, his major was English. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are no opportunities anymore to learn the stuff that I learned over my career. And we had a little bit of a start at the University of Saskatchewan in a program that at times we joked about and laughed at a little bit, but it was, for the journeymen that were there, it was enough to get us teaching in the school system. We had to keep learning the whole time, and I think a good teacher always does that. You keep learning. But when people are thrown into an industrial arts class with no training and no background, so they don't know how to operate equipment. And there's a big difference between operating equipment in a work environment, like, you know, you do a handyman stuff around your house. There's a big difference doing that and helping somebody's kid who you don't know get on that bandsaw for the first time, or the lathe, or whatever it is. Scarier yet, the table saw and the sliding compound miter saw. Those things, you know, they can be lethal if you don't know what they're doing. And there is no training anymore in my province for people to do that. And to me, that's sad. So I try to show tidbits of what I did to get organized and to run a class in my 32 years of doing this. And that's why you end up with a video like this. So yeah, I put everything in the lathe again, but it showed what I put there, what the tools that I use. And we'll talk about projects. We'll do that all. But unfortunately, the colleagues that I would have if I was still in the school division aren't getting the training that they need. And it's sad, because this is going to be an important subject as the world evolves. So anyway, and I'll get off my soapbox and we'll close this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are, feel free to laugh at my engineering, because that's funny. But luckily, no lathes or people were hurt with the filming of this video. So, not sure what next week is going to bring. We've got a busy week next week again. They've been that way lately. And there's some more serious stuff going on that I may not get to put a video, but I'm going to try to do 2 anyway. So anyway, with that in mind, like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you when we see you.